Why is it that a relatively large portion of antinatalists is also vegan, and in the vegan community, antinatalism is increasingly discussed? Perhaps because someone who chooses to save a cow from needless suffering may decide to extend the same courtesy to a human, and vice versa. We could say that the common interest is to reduce suffering, but it's more specific than that. If a large portion of society goes vegan, it is neither their aim nor the result that all the superfluous animals will be released and given a good life. Instead, as demand decreases, so must production, meaning fewer animals created. So rather than reducing suffering that exists, both philosophies are about refraining from the creation of new life that will suffer, and both are willing to forego the benefits to avoid the cost. Vegans give up certain foods and products, and antinatalists forego the rewards of procreation. The costs avoided relate first and foremost to existence itself, whether confined to bad conditions by humans or to the human condition. It's easy to imagine an antinatalist going vegan after realizing that a human's existential angst is nothing compared to the horrors of factory farming. The opposite direction, or why a vegan would reach an antinatalist conclusion, is perhaps better exemplified by the idea that the new life we create causes harm, in addition to being harmed. A vegan who speaks of the animal industry's carbon footprint as an argument for veganism may realize that in this regard there's an even stronger case for antinatalism. This question, and many others, are constantly thrown at vegans to show that no one is completely moral. It's a tactic known as whataboutism, and it implies that we can reject veganism for being ethically imperfect. But the vegan response is not to accept this conclusion. Rather than use imperfection to wipe out all complexity and justify anything, we can do our best to minimize the pain we cause. The antinatalist response is that, whether we endorse veganism as damage control or not, we certainly shouldn't subject another person, a new person, to the same moral conundrum. This is the ultimate step in the progressing morality of avoidance. Not so long ago you could be a vegetarian, but vegan seemed extreme. Today, veganism is on the rise, but so is the understanding that, contrary to what we'd like to believe, none of these steps fixes everything. Harm and suffering are part of life, and no matter how ethically we do manage to live, once we create a person, we're setting in motion a future beyond our control, filled with moral compromises and painful experiences. And if this can be compared to a burst pipe, antinatalism starts with turning off the mains, but it doesn't have to end there. Once the negative effects of life are limited to a lifespan, there is a world of possibilities, of ways to reduce suffering, to reduce harm, and to be able to say one is doing one's best without that air of absurdity of mopping up the mess while the water is still gushing.